The Lost Kingdom of Atlantis, Echoes of a Forgotten World. The ancient marble tablet, pulled from the Mediterranean's crushing depths, bore an inscription that made the archaeologist's hands tremble. Beyond the Pillars of Hercules lies the truth of all truths, the kingdom that gods themselves feared to name. It was the first tangible evidence in millennia that pointed to what scholars had long dismissed as mere fantasy: the existence of Atlantis. For centuries, humanity has been haunted by the tantalizing possibility that an advanced civilization once existed, one that achieved heights of knowledge and power that we are only now beginning to comprehend. The story of Atlantis is more than just a tale of a lost kingdom. It's a mirror that reflects our deepest questions about human potential and our greatest fears about civilization's fragility. When Plato first wrote of Atlantis in his dialogues Timaeus and Critias around 360 BC, he described it with such precise detail that one must wonder, how could anyone fabricate such specificity? He spoke of a circular city with alternating rings of land and water, protected by walls plated with precious metals, bronze on the outside, tin in the middle, and the innermost wall gleaming with a mysterious metal orichalcum, said to glow with a red light that rivaled the setting sun. But here's what keeps modern scientists awake at night. Recent geological surveys of the Atlantic Ocean floor have revealed precise circular formations that mirror Plato's descriptions, hidden beneath millennia of sediment. Even more disturbing, trace elements found in deep-sea cores match the unique molecular structure of what ancient metallurgists described as orichalcum. The Atlanteans, according to ancient texts, possessed technology that defied the natural order. They had mastered a form of crystal energy that powered their vessels through both water and air. Contemporary researchers have discovered unusual crystalline structures in certain Atlantic deep-sea vents that exhibit previously unknown properties of energy amplification. Is this mere coincidence or evidence of a lost science? Among the most chilling details in Plato's account is the description of Atlantean genetic engineering. He wrote of beings neither fully human nor fully divine, that served as guardians of their most sacred knowledge. Recent discoveries of unusual DNA sequences in ancient human remains found near suspected Atlantean sites have left geneticists baffled. These sequences show signs of deliberate manipulation using methods we are only now beginning to understand. The disappearance of Atlantis, in a single day and night of misfortune, has long been attributed to natural disasters, earthquakes, floods, or volcanic eruptions. However, ancient Hindu texts speak of weapons of unimaginable power, capable of turning cities to crystal in the blink of an eye. Peculiarly, vast sheets of vitrified sand have been discovered in remote Atlantic locations, suggesting temperatures far exceeding what any natural phenomenon could produce. Perhaps most unsettling are the recurring patterns found in ancient civilizations across the globe, from the Mayans to the Egyptians to the inhabitants of Easter Island, all sharing eerily similar symbols and mathematical knowledge that they claim was taught to them by visitors from the Western Sea. These civilizations, separated by vast oceans, somehow shared identical measurements for the circumference of the Earth and the precise distance between Earth and the Sun. In the deep waters off the coast of Cuba, sonar readings have revealed geometric structures that appear to be the remains of massive pyramids, larger than those at Giza. But what truly frightens marine archaeologists is that these structures show signs of tool marks made by instruments far more precise than anything available in the ancient world, or even today. The Atlanteans' understanding of consciousness itself seems to have transcended our modern comprehension. Ancient texts speak of their ability to communicate across vast distances through thought alone, using crystal chambers that amplified mental energy. Modern experiments with quantum entanglement and consciousness have begun to suggest that such capabilities might not be as impossible as once believed. Among the most provocative discoveries are the speaking stones, crystalline artifacts occasionally dredged up by deep-sea fishing operations. When subjected to specific frequencies of sound, these stones emit patterns of light that form into what appear to be three-dimensional maps of unknown regions of Earth. More disturbingly, some appear to show landscapes that match no known location on our planet. The Atlanteans' downfall, according to Plato, came when they attempted to conquer Athens. But encrypted messages found within ancient Egyptian hieroglyphs tell a different story. One of a civilization that became too powerful, of knowledge that violated the natural order, and of a deliberate decision by those who watched to erase Atlantis from both the earth and human memory. Recent advances in quantum archaeology, the theoretical reconstruction of past events through analysis of quantum-level disturbances in space-time, have revealed something extraordinary. There appears to be a void in the quantum record precisely during the period when Atlantis supposedly existed, as if something or someone had deliberately erased it from the fabric of reality itself. The mystery of Atlantis endures not just because of what we might find, but because of what finding it would mean. If such an advanced civilization once existed, what does that say about the true history of human development? More importantly, if they achieved such heights of knowledge and power, what caused their downfall? And are we destined to repeat their fate? Deep beneath the Atlantic waves, in darkness that hasn't known light for thousands of years, something waits. Submarine drones occasionally pick up unusual energy signatures, and sonar operators report hearing what sounds like crystal resonating at frequencies that shouldn't be possible at those depths. Perhaps the most terrifying possibility isn't that Atlantis was destroyed, but that some part of it still exists, watching and waiting as humanity once again approaches the level of knowledge that led to their own catastrophic end. The question that haunts modern researchers isn't just where Atlantis might be found, but whether we're ready for what its discovery would reveal. Ancient warnings found in texts from cultures across the globe all seem to share a common thread. Some knowledge is meant to stay buried, some powers are not meant to be reclaimed, and some mysteries are safer left unsolved. Yet the search continues. Each year, new evidence emerges that challenges our understanding of human history and technological development. Satellite imagery reveals more underwater structures that defy conventional explanation. Genetic studies uncover anomalies that suggest ancient manipulation of human DNA. And in laboratories around the world, researchers working with crystal technologies occasionally achieve results that seem to echo the legendary capabilities of the Atlantean civilization. As we stand on the brink of our own technological singularity, with artificial intelligence, quantum computing, and genetic engineering advancing at unprecedented rates, the story of Atlantis serves as both a beacon and a warning. Were they the first to walk this path? Did they discover something that proved too powerful to control? And if so, are the ruins of their civilization trying to tell us something? A message that becomes more urgent with each passing day? The marble tablet that began our story now sits in a climate-controlled vault, its warning about the truth of all truths still challenging our understanding of history. But perhaps the real truth about Atlantis isn't hidden in the ocean depths or buried beneath millennia of sediment. Perhaps it lives in our collective memory, a ghostly echo of a time when humans touched the face of godhood and learned why some heights were never meant to be reached again. As you read these words, somewhere beneath the Atlantic waves, ancient crystals pulse with forgotten energies, architectural marvels defy the laws of physics, and the remnants of a civilization that reshaped the world wait to be rediscovered. The question isn't just whether we'll find Atlantis, but whether Atlantis, or whatever remains of it, will find us first. The Indus Valley Civilization, a mystery that defies logic. Imagine finding a 4,500-year-old city with better drainage systems than many modern cities have today. That's exactly what archaeologists discovered when they unearthed the remains of the Indus Valley Civilization. But here's the weird part: they shouldn't have been able to build any of it. Picture this. While ancient Egyptians were still figuring out how to build pyramids, and Mesopotamians were just learning to write, someone in South Asia had already built perfect cities with bathrooms in every house, underground sewers, and streets laid out in perfect right angles. How did they do it? Nobody knows. The strangest thing about these ancient cities? Every single brick they used was exactly the same size. Not almost the same, exactly the same. Even today, with all our modern technology, it's hard to make millions of bricks that perfectly identical. These people did it over 4,000 years ago, and we still don't know how. Here's something that keeps archaeologists awake at night. The Indus Valley people had swimming pools and public baths that were so well built, some of them still hold water today. Think about that. Structures built before most civilizations even existed are still waterproof after thousands of years. But wait, it gets weirder. They had a writing system that nobody has been able to crack. Thousands of tiny seals with mysterious symbols have been found. But despite our best computers and brightest minds, we still can't read a single word. It's like they're trying to tell us something, but we're not smart enough to understand. The cities they built would seem advanced even today. Mohenjo-Daro, their biggest city, had wide streets, tall buildings, and a system to control traffic flow. They even had covered drains, something that some modern cities still struggle with. How did they plan all this without computers or modern tools? Here's a mystery that doesn't make sense. They had perfectly standardized weights and measures. Wherever you went in their massive civilization, which was bigger than ancient Egypt and Mesopotamia combined, one weight meant exactly the same thing. That kind of standardization didn't exist anywhere else in the world for thousands of years after them. And then there's their incredible craft work. They made tiny beads with holes so small that modern scientists were baffled about how they drilled them. When they finally figured it out, they discovered these ancient craftspeople had used techniques that weren't invented until the 20th century. The most mind-boggling part? This massive, advanced civilization had no palace, no temples, no obvious kings or queens, and no signs of an army. Every other ancient civilization we know of was obsessed with showing off their power, but not these people. How did they maintain order and peace across a region larger than Western Europe without any obvious rulers? They had toys for children, including little carts with working wheels, at a time when most of the world hadn't even invented the wheel. They played board games. They had art. They made jewelry that looks so modern it could be sold in stores today. But here's what really doesn't make sense. They suddenly vanished. A civilization more advanced than any of their neighbors, with cities better planned than ancient Rome would be thousands of years later, just disappeared. Their cities were abandoned, their writing system forgotten, their incredible technologies lost. Some of their achievements seem impossible even by today's standards. Every house in their cities had access to clean water and a drainage system. Think about that. They had universal running water and sewage systems when most of the world was still living in mud huts. Even today, many cities haven't achieved this level of infrastructure. The precision of their architecture is frightening. Their streets were laid out in perfect grids with exact right angles, something that would be challenging even with modern surveying equipment. How did they achieve such precision without modern tools? They even had systems to collect trash. Every few blocks in their cities, there were rubbish bins built into the street corners. They were more organized about garbage collection than many modern cities. How did they develop such advanced civic planning thousands of years before anyone else? What's even more baffling is their apparent understanding of science. They built their grain storage areas to take advantage of wind patterns for cooling, creating natural air conditioning systems. They designed their streets to use the breeze for natural ventilation. These people understood advanced principles of physics and engineering that wouldn't be discovered for thousands of years. Scientists have found evidence that they might have had their own system of astronomy and mathematics. Some of their artifacts show patterns that match astronomical events, suggesting they could predict and track celestial movements. But without being able to read their writing, we can't know for sure how advanced their knowledge really was. The most perplexing question remains: what happened to them? Theories range from climate change to earthquakes to invasions, but none fully explain how such an advanced civilization could vanish so completely. It's as if they took all their knowledge and disappeared, leaving behind only tantalizing clues about who they were and what they knew. Modern engineers are still trying to figure out how they created such perfect drainage slopes in their sewage systems. The gradient is so precise that it still functions after thousands of years. We can barely build systems today that last 50 years without needing major repairs. Their cities show no signs of invasion or warfare, yet they built walls strong enough to withstand modern earthquakes. Why? What were they protecting themselves from? And how did they know how to build structures that would last for thousands of years? The Indus Valley civilization reminds us that perhaps we're not as advanced as we think we are. These ancient people achieved things that we still struggle to explain or replicate. They built cities that were more sophisticated than anything else that would exist for thousands of years, then vanished, leaving us with more questions than answers. As we dig deeper into their remains, each discovery makes the mystery deeper. How did they achieve such advances in urban planning, sanitation, metallurgy, and standardization without leaving any record of how they did it? Maybe the biggest mystery isn't how they disappeared, but how they managed to exist at all. Their legacy leaves us with an uncomfortable question. Are we really moving forward, or are we just rediscovering what these ancient people already knew? And what else did they know that we haven't figured out yet? The Maya, a civilization that knew too much. Deep in the jungles of Central America lies a mystery that makes modern scientists question everything they think they know. The Maya weren't just another ancient civilization. They were Time Lords who could predict events thousands of years into the future with shocking accuracy. Let's start with something that shouldn't be possible. The Maya created a calendar so precise that it could predict solar eclipses within minutes, thousands of years in advance. Even more mind-bending, they tracked Venus's movements with an error of just 2 hours over 500 years. Modern astronomers needed advanced telescopes to achieve this level of accuracy. But here's what keeps astronomers awake at night. The Maya somehow knew about planets they couldn't possibly see. Their writings contain references to the movements of planets that are impossible to spot without telescopes. How did they know? The buildings they left behind break the rules of what ancient people should have been able to do. Take the pyramid at Chichen Itza. Every spring and autumn equinox, it creates a light show that makes a giant snake appear to crawl down its stairs. How did they calculate the exact angles needed to create this effect without computers? Their cities hold an even stranger secret. Scientists recently discovered that the Maya covered their buildings with a mysterious blue paint that doesn't fade, even after more than 1,000 years. Modern paint starts fading after a few years. We still can't figure out how they made this super paint. Here's something really weird. The Maya built their cities to be giant musical instruments. When you clap your hands in front of some pyramids, they echo back the sound of their sacred bird, the quetzal. Others create rainfall sounds or snake rattles. These weren't accidents. They engineered their buildings to do this. The Maya's understanding of mathematics would have made Einstein jealous. They figured out the concept of zero hundreds of years before anyone else. They were doing complex calculations that European mathematicians wouldn't figure out for another 1,000 years. But here's the creepy part. Their king's tombs were built like spaceships. The tomb of King Pacal at Palenque shows him seated in what looks eerily like a modern rocket ship, complete with what appears to be an oxygen mask and control panels. What did they know about space travel? Their writing system is so complex it makes modern languages look simple. Each Maya glyph can mean different things depending on how it's positioned or combined with others. It's like they invented 3D hypertext thousands of years before computers existed. The Maya had books, thousands of them, but something or someone destroyed almost all of them. Only 4 survived. Those 4 books contain information about astronomy that wasn't discovered until the 20th century. What was in all those destroyed books? They built underground tunnels beneath their pyramids that perfectly align with constellations above. When scientists mapped these tunnels, they found they matched star charts with incredible precision. But here's the weird thing. Some of these star alignments wouldn't have been visible for another several hundred years after the tunnels were built. The Maya knew things about the human body that modern medicine is only now discovering. They performed successful brain surgery over 1,000 years ago. We know this because archaeologists have found skulls with surgical cuts that show signs of healing, meaning the patient survived. Their cities themselves are a puzzle that defies explanation. Many were built in perfect alignment with celestial events, but that's not the strange part. The strange part is that these alignments only become apparent when the cities are mapped from high above, as if they were designed to be seen from the sky. The Maya had an understanding of acoustics that we're still trying to figure out. They built theaters where a whisper from the stage could be heard perfectly in the back row, and temples where specific sounds could trigger hallucinations. How did they know so much about the science of sound? But perhaps the most chilling mystery is their disappearance. The Maya didn't just decline, they abandoned their magnificent cities almost overnight. They walked away from buildings that had taken generations to create, leaving their possessions behind as if they had to leave in a hurry. What did they know was coming? Their prophecies still baffle us. They predicted events that wouldn't happen for hundreds of years. Some of their predictions about astronomical events in our own time have proven eerily accurate. What else did they predict about our future? The Maya understood rubber and how to use it over 3,000 years before the rest of the world. They created rubber balls and waterproof items when most civilizations were still using stone tools. Their rubber-making process was so advanced that modern scientists are still studying it. Here's something truly bizarre. They had developed what appears to be a form of binary code, similar to what computers use today, in their art patterns. Some researchers believe these patterns contain mathematical and astronomical information we still haven't decoded. The precision of their architecture defies belief. The Pyramid of Kukulkan has exactly 365 steps, one for each day of the year. During the winter solstice, the sun creates a pattern of triangles that perfectly aligns with the stairway, creating a pattern like a diamondback snake. This happens with clockwork precision, year after year, century after century. Their understanding of sound went beyond architecture. They created whistles that produce infrasound, sounds below human hearing that can cause physical and psychological effects in people. These sounds could induce states of awe or terror. Were these devices used for crowd control? Modern satellite imagery has revealed something even stranger. Many Maya cities are laid out in patterns that match molecular structures we've only recently discovered. Some researchers suggest they understood atomic and molecular geometry thousands of years before modern science. The Mayas' knowledge of chemistry was far ahead of their time. They created colors that still haven't faded after more than a millennium, developed waterproof cement, and even knew how to vulcanize rubber, a process we thought was invented in the 19th century. But perhaps the most profound mystery is this. Did the Maya really disappear, or did they know something that made them choose to walk away from their mighty civilization? And if they could see so far into the future, what did they see that made them leave? As we uncover more about the Maya, each answer leads to more questions. Their legacy suggests they possessed knowledge that goes far beyond what ancient civilizations should have known. The real mystery might not be what happened to the Maya, but how they gained their extraordinary knowledge in the first place. The Sumerians, the people who invented everything. Imagine discovering a civilization that appeared out of nowhere, already knowing things they couldn't possibly have known. That's the mystery of the Sumerians. They didn't slowly develop like other civilizations. They showed up in history already knowing how to do incredible things. Here's the first head-scratcher. The Sumerians created the world's first writing system, but it wasn't simple picture writing like you might expect. They jumped straight to a complex system of over 1,000 symbols that could express abstract thoughts. It's like finding a smartphone in ancient times when everyone else was using smoke signals. But here's what really doesn't make sense. When archaeologists first translated Sumerian tablets, they found detailed astronomical information about planets the Sumerians shouldn't have been able to see. They knew about Uranus, Neptune, and even Pluto, planets that weren't officially discovered until thousands of years later with telescopes. The Sumerians had a list of kings that goes back 241,200 years before the Great Flood. That's not a typo. They claimed their kings ruled for thousands of years each. The weird part? They wrote regular historical events in a matter-of-fact way, but then casually mentioned these impossibly long-living kings as if it was perfectly normal. Their first city, Eridu, appeared fully formed with advanced architecture and urban planning. There was no gradual development, no primitive settlements leading up to it. It's like they already knew exactly how to build a city. How is that possible? The Sumerians had sophisticated mathematical knowledge that wouldn't be rediscovered for thousands of years. They used a number system based on 60 that we still use today for measuring time and angles. They could calculate square roots and even solve complex equations, all without calculators or computers. Here's something disturbing. They had detailed medical knowledge, including surgical procedures, that they claimed was given to them by beings called the Apkallu, fish-like creatures that came from the sea. Their medical texts describe procedures that wouldn't be invented again until modern times. The Sumerians understood the concept of zero and place value thousands of years before these ideas supposedly developed. They could track the movements of celestial bodies with incredible precision and even knew about the precession of the equinoxes, a 25,920-year cycle that modern astronomy only figured out recently. Their creation stories talk about genetic engineering. No, really. They described in detail how humans were created by mixing the blood of gods with clay and the essence of life. Modern genetic researchers have been startled by how these ancient descriptions parallel some aspects of genetic modification. The Sumerians had a complete understanding of the solar system, including knowledge of planets' relative sizes and characteristics. They knew Saturn had rings and Jupiter had major moons, things that shouldn't have been visible to them. Their astronomical texts described cosmic events from millions of years ago, written as if they had witnessed them. They invented the wheel, but that's not the weird part. The weird part is they had complex mechanical knowledge about axles, bearings, and reduced friction, concepts that other civilizations wouldn't understand for thousands of years. The Sumerian language makes no sense to linguists. It has no relation to any other known language, ancient or modern. It's as if it appeared out of nowhere, fully formed. Even stranger, it contains words for complex technological concepts that shouldn't have existed back then. Their architecture used advanced mathematical principles that wouldn't be discovered until the Renaissance. They understood geometric principles that would make modern architects jealous. How did they calculate all this without modern tools? The Sumerians had detailed maps of the solar system showing all planets in their correct orbits. They even included Pluto, which wasn't discovered until 1930. Their texts talk about planets' compositions and characteristics that we've only confirmed with modern space probes. But here's the most mind-bending part. The Sumerians claimed none of this knowledge was theirs. According to their writings, everything they knew was taught to them by the Anunnaki, beings who came from above. They wrote about this not as mythology, but as historical fact. Their understanding of genetics shows up in their texts about the creation of humans. They described combining different genetic materials to create new beings, something that sounds suspiciously like genetic engineering. How did they know about concepts we're only now beginning to understand? The Sumerians had complex chemical knowledge. They could create batteries, yes, batteries, glazes for pottery that we still can't replicate, and alloys that required precise understanding of metallurgy. They even had a process for creating artificial lapis lazuli, something that requires advanced chemical knowledge. Their texts include detailed descriptions of atomic theory, the idea that all matter is made up of tiny, invisible particles. They wrote about this thousands of years before modern atomic theory was developed. How could they have known this? The precision of their astronomical calculations is impossible without advanced mathematics. They could predict celestial events hundreds of years in advance and had knowledge of cosmic events that happened millions of years before their time. It's as if they had access to information from both the past and the future. They understood weather patterns and could predict them with remarkable accuracy. Their texts describe climate cycles that modern meteorology has only recently confirmed. They even wrote about ice ages and global climate changes that happened long before their civilization existed. The most perplexing question isn't how the Sumerians gained their knowledge, but why they disappeared. Their civilization didn't gradually decline. It vanished relatively suddenly, leaving behind clay tablets filled with knowledge that would be lost for thousands of years. Modern scientists are still discovering things the Sumerians knew. Every few years, we discover something new, only to find the Sumerians wrote about it thousands of years ago. This raises an uncomfortable question. How much did they know that we still haven't rediscovered? The legacy of the Sumerians challenges everything we think we know about human development. They force us to ask, did civilization really develop gradually, or did someone give humanity a head start? And if so, who were they and why did they do it? Ancient Egypt's hidden cities, secrets beneath the sand. In the scorching heat of the Egyptian desert, satellite imagery has revealed something that shouldn't be possible. Entire cities lying hidden beneath the sand, their streets laid out with geometric precision that rivals modern urban planning. But these aren't just any cities. They're thousands of years old, and they're challenging everything we thought we knew about ancient civilization. Recent discoveries have found something even more perplexing. These buried cities show evidence of advanced technology we can't explain. Ground-penetrating radar has revealed underground chambers lined with materials that seem to block all forms of electromagnetic radiation, a technology we thought was only developed in the 20th century. The newly discovered city of Aden, dubbed the Egyptian Pompeii, holds a secret that's keeping archaeologists awake at night. The city's walls contain traces of a mysterious compound that seems to be some kind of ancient concrete, but its composition includes elements that couldn't have been processed with Bronze Age technology. But here's where it gets really strange. The streets of these hidden cities align perfectly with celestial constellations. Not just any constellations, but the way these star patterns looked over 12,000 years ago. How did they know what the stars looked like so far in the past? The Pyramid Enigma. The Great Pyramid of Giza stands as humanity's most enduring mystery. Built with over 2.3 million stone blocks, each weighing up to 80 tons, its construction defies conventional explanation. Modern engineers admit that even with today's technology, rebuilding the Great Pyramid would be nearly impossible. Here's something that doesn't make sense. The pyramid's base is perfectly level, with an error margin of less than 2 centimeters across its entire 13-acre foundation. That kind of precision is difficult to achieve, even with laser levels. How did the ancient Egyptians do it with primitive tools? The inner chambers hold an even darker mystery. Scientists recently discovered that the pyramid's core chambers can focus electromagnetic energy. The structure seems to be designed to channel and amplify certain frequencies. But why? What were these massive structures really built for? Recent thermal scanning of the pyramids revealed something impossible. There are voids inside that maintain a constant temperature of exactly 20 degrees Celsius, regardless of external conditions. This perfect temperature control shouldn't be possible with Bronze Age engineering. The mathematics encoded in the pyramid's dimensions are frightening in their precision. The structure encodes the value of pi, the golden ratio, and even the exact circumference of the Earth, all with an accuracy that wouldn't be achieved again until the age of computers. But here's what really doesn't add up. The official story claims the pyramids were built as tombs, yet not a single mummy has ever been found inside the Great Pyramid. The elaborate systems of passages and chambers seem designed for something else entirely. But what? The technology that shouldn't exist. In the buried city of Heraklion, divers found something that shouldn't exist. Precision-cut stones with angles so perfect they could only have been made with advanced machinery. The cuts are identical to those produced by modern computer-controlled diamond saws. The hidden city of Tanis yielded another impossible find. Metallic objects with perfect right angles and compositions that include alloys we've only recently learned how to create. Some contain trace amounts of elements that don't naturally occur on Earth. Underneath the Giza Plateau, ground-penetrating radar has detected a vast network of tunnels and chambers that form a perfect geometric pattern. More disturbing still, these underground structures seem to be arranged in a way that mirrors quantum wave functions, a concept not discovered until the 20th century. The lost knowledge. Ancient Egyptian texts speak of halls of records containing all the knowledge of their civilization. Recent excavations have found references to these halls in multiple locations, all pointing to a vast underground complex that has yet to be discovered. The Egyptians possessed medical knowledge that wouldn't be rediscovered for thousands of years. They performed brain surgery, used antiseptics, and had an understanding of genetics that modern science is only now beginning to comprehend. Where did this knowledge come from? In the newly uncovered city of Abydos, archaeologists found workshop spaces that show evidence of advanced metallurgy and chemical processes we still can't replicate. The walls contain formula-like inscriptions describing procedures that modern chemists don't fully understand. The builder's mystery. The official narrative claims the pyramids were built by thousands of workers over decades. But analysis of the construction sites has revealed something troubling. There's not enough evidence of human habitation to support such large workforces. Where did the builders live? Recent studies of the pyramid stones have shown that many of the largest blocks aren't limestone as long believed, but are actually a form of ancient concrete, poured into place rather than quarried and transported. This would explain how they moved such massive stones, but creates a bigger mystery. How did they create a concrete that's stronger than anything we can make today? The precision of the pyramid's construction becomes more impossible the closer we look. The blocks fit together so perfectly that you can't insert a credit card between them. This level of precision would be challenging even with modern laser cutting technology. The underground enigma. Beneath the ancient city of Memphis, archaeologists have discovered a vast underground complex that appears to be some kind of ancient power plant. The walls are lined with unusual crystalline structures that seem designed to channel and amplify energy. But what kind of energy, and for what purpose? In the buried city of Thonis Heraclean, divers found something that defies explanation. Massive underwater structures that appear to be some kind of ancient hydraulic system. The engineering principles used in their construction weren't discovered until the Renaissance. The star connection. The arrangement of Egypt's hidden cities isn't random. When mapped from above, they form patterns that match specific astronomical alignments. But here's the truly bizarre part. Some of these alignments won't occur until thousands of years in our future. The pyramids themselves contain encoded information about solar cycles, lunar phases, and planetary movements that we've only recently verified with modern astronomy. How did they acquire such precise astronomical knowledge without telescopes? Modern mysteries. Contemporary excavations keep finding artifacts that shouldn't exist. Small golden objects that look like modern aircraft, hieroglyphs that appear to depict advanced technology, and stone carvings that show knowledge of electricity and atomic structure. In 2023, a new chamber was discovered in the Great Pyramid using cosmic ray imaging. What's strange isn't just its existence, but the fact that it appears to be lined with a material that partially blocks these cosmic rays, something that should be technologically impossible for the ancient world. The ultimate questions. As we uncover more of Egypt's hidden cities and delve deeper into the pyramid mystery, we're left with disturbing questions. Did the ancient Egyptians possess knowledge and technology far beyond what we've imagined? Were the pyramids and these elaborate hidden cities built for purposes we still don't understand? The biggest mystery might not be how these structures were built, but why? What was the true purpose of this vast network of cities, underground complexes, and precisely engineered monuments? And what happened to the advanced knowledge that made it all possible? Perhaps the most chilling possibility is this. What if we're not discovering Egypt's ancient secrets, but merely rediscovering knowledge that humanity once possessed and somehow lost? And if so, what else might be hidden beneath the shifting sands of the desert, waiting to challenge everything we think we know about human civilization? The people of the Andes, the masters of bioengineering. High in the desolate, oxygen-thin air of the Andes Mountains, archaeologists are uncovering the remnants of a civilization that possessed a mastery of bioengineering centuries before the term even existed. These weren't just skilled farmers. They were genetic architects who reshaped the very landscape to suit their needs, blurring the lines between nature and technology. The first clue that something extraordinary was afoot came with the discovery of hundreds of varieties of potatoes and maize, far exceeding anything found elsewhere in the world. These weren't naturally occurring variations. They were deliberately engineered to thrive in extreme altitudes and resist harsh conditions. How did they develop such a sophisticated understanding of genetics? But here's the kicker. The terraces carved into the mountainsides aren't just for farming. Recent studies have revealed that they are giant, sophisticated laboratories, each designed to create specific microclimates for experimenting with different plant species. It's an open-air botanical research station on a scale unmatched anywhere else in the ancient world. According to the ancient folklore, the Andean people believed in a divine entity called the Viracocha, who had given them the knowledge of how to transform the landscape and create new life forms. The Andean people were able to manipulate the genetic code of plants, creating new species that could thrive in the harshest conditions. They developed hybrid crops that were resistant to pests and diseases, ensuring a stable food supply for their civilization. These terraces show evidence of a deep understanding of botany, hydrology, and engineering. Each level was carefully designed to maximize sunlight exposure, control water flow, and create ideal conditions for plant growth. But it's not just about plants. Archaeologists have found evidence that they also experimented with animal breeding, creating varieties of llamas and alpacas that produce superior wool and meat. They selectively bred animals with traits that would help them adapt to the challenging mountain environment. Among the most mind-boggling finds are the warped skulls of the Andean elite. While cranial deformation was practiced by other cultures, the extreme elongation and distortion of these skulls go far beyond mere aesthetics. Scientists now believe it was an attempt to enhance cognitive abilities by physically altering brain structure. Recent analysis of these skulls has revealed unusual bone density and the presence of metallic alloys in the skulls. Some researchers believe that this could be evidence of advanced bioengineering techniques. The Andean people left behind an intricate network of irrigation canals and reservoirs. They were able to control water flow with precision, ensuring that every field received the optimal amount of water. Their irrigation systems are still in use today, providing water to communities throughout the region. The discovery of the Andean people's ability to perform complex surgeries thousands of years ago has astounded scientists. They performed trepanation, a surgical procedure that involves drilling holes in the skull, with a remarkable success rate. Skulls have been found with evidence of bone regrowth, indicating that the patient survived the procedure. One of the most perplexing artifacts uncovered is the golden seed, a tiny, intricately carved object that appears to be a storage device for genetic information. When analyzed, the seed contained the blueprints for the lost varieties of plants, with an astonishing ability to adapt to the most challenging environments. The knowledge of bioengineering went beyond just plants and animals. They seem to have also experimented with the creation of human hybrid beings, engineered for specific purposes. Ancient myths tell of people with superhuman abilities who served as guardians of their most sacred knowledge. The disappearance of the ancient Andean civilization remains a mystery. Some theories propose a sudden climate change event, while others suggest a deadly epidemic or a catastrophic internal conflict. But what if they simply chose to go further underground? The legacy of the Andean people is a reminder of the remarkable potential of human ingenuity and the interconnectedness of life. Their innovations in bioengineering and sustainable agriculture have left an indelible mark on the world. As we continue to uncover the secrets of the Andean civilization, we are left with a sense of awe and wonder at the profound knowledge they possessed. What other mysteries lie hidden in the mountains, waiting to be discovered? And what lessons can we learn from their remarkable ability to shape the world around them? The Adriatic Anomaly, the crystal city of Illiria. Imagine stumbling upon a city that defies the laws of physics, constructed from crystals that vibrate with an unknown energy. That's the mystery unfolding in the depths of the Adriatic Sea, off the coast of modern-day Albania and Croatia. For centuries, local legends spoke of a glowing city swallowed by the waves, dismissed as mere folklore. But recent discoveries are hinting at a reality far stranger and more compelling. The first indication that something extraordinary existed beneath the Adriatic came with the discovery of unusual sonar readings. Divers initially dismissed them as rock formations, but closer inspection revealed geometric structures with impossible precision, unlike anything found in nature. But here's the mind-boggling part. The city isn't built from stone or metal, but from massive, interlocking crystals of quartz, amethyst, and a previously unknown mineral that emits a faint, pulsating light. These crystals appear to be arranged in such a way that they amplify and focus an unknown form of energy. Ancient texts speak of the Illyrians, an enigmatic civilization that flourished in the Balkans thousands of years ago. According to these legends, they possessed advanced knowledge of crystal technology and could harness the power of these crystals to achieve feats that defied the laws of nature. Drones have mapped a sprawling urban complex, complete with towers, temples, and what appear to be massive power generators, all constructed from these shimmering crystals. The architectural design is unlike anything found on land, with structures that seem to defy gravity. The mystery intensifies with the discovery of intricate engravings on the crystal walls, depicting scenes of advanced technology and complex mathematical equations. The engravings show what appears to be crystalline devices with the ability to control weather patterns and teleport objects across vast distances. But here's what keeps researchers awake at night. The city is surrounded by a powerful energy field that disrupts electronic equipment and causes strange psychological effects in divers who venture too close. This field seems to be emanating from the crystals themselves, suggesting a technology that we don't yet understand. Underwater archaeologists have recovered artifacts from the city, including crystal tools, metallic devices with unknown functions, and what appear to be holographic projectors that display images of a long-lost civilization. Analysis of these artifacts reveals a deep understanding of quantum physics and the ability to manipulate the fabric of space-time. The holographic projectors show images of the distant past, revealing a civilization that mastered the art of time travel. The city shows no signs of destruction or abandonment, leading researchers to believe that the inhabitants may have simply ascended to a higher dimension, leaving behind a city that continues to resonate with their energy. One of the most perplexing finds is a massive crystal obelisk that seems to be at the heart of the city's power grid. When activated with certain frequencies of sound, the obelisk emits a beam of light that reveals hidden chambers and passages within the city. The Adriatic Anomaly is not just about a lost city. It's about a civilization that may have transcended the limitations of the physical world, harnessing the power of crystals to achieve feats that we can only dream of. What secrets lie hidden within the crystal city of Illiria? What knowledge did they possess? And what message are they trying to send us from beyond the veil of reality? As we continue to explore the depths of the Adriatic Sea, we uncover a story of human ingenuity, technological advancement, and the interconnectedness of all things. Perhaps the question we should be asking is not whether we can understand their technology, but whether we are ready to handle such power. The Adriatic Anomaly challenges our understanding of human history and the limits of scientific possibility. It reminds us that there are still untold stories waiting to be uncovered, and that the greatest discoveries may lie just beyond our perception.